Yes, 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 yes. Welcome to wherever you are. And I'm welcoming myself into the light right here. Here we go. Hello again. Welcome, 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 welcome. And welcome to those of you watching online. We're so glad you're here. So this book is awesome. This is an amazing book. An Altar in the World by Barbara Brown Taylor. This is what we are doing our book series on right now. And if you don't yet have this book, Carolyn has some downstairs in our bookstore and gift shop. It's just wonderful. You can each chapter is like an essay in and of itself. And so you can sort of pick it up and wherever you are, welcome to wherever you are. So yes, and last week we talked about wearing skin and walking the earth. And this week I have some thoughts that I want to share with you about the practice of getting lost and encountering others. It's chapters 5 and 6, if you are following along in the book. And Barbara Brown Taylor talks about the holy art of being lost on purpose. Being lost on purpose is a holy art, and I can tell you that no one does this better than my mom, Peggy. Hi, Mom. She's watching from California. Hi. No one gets lost on purpose better than my mom. And she's a master at it, and I'll tell you why. That is because she is one of the most flexible human beings I have ever known in my entire life. She's always open to changing the plan, mixing it up a little bit, for an even better idea, if that pops up or shows up. She's just always wide open. And if something else comes in and appears as an opportunity, she's the first one to say, let's go, let's do it. It was always just really exciting when we would have, mother-daughter day, and I would say this, all 5 of my siblings would share this with me, that, you just never knew what was going to happen in the best way. Sometimes we'd have a mundane errand to run, and we would, do that. We'd still have a good time. But other times, a lot of times, we would have an errand that we were going to take, and she would just get a burst of inspiration and take a left turn somewhere, and we would end up having a marvelous adventure. So I want to tell you, when I was 12 years old, my mom and I had set out to have a day together, and one of the things that we knew that we had to do was get school supplies for me, binder paper and folders and that type of thing. So we're on our way to the binder paper store, whatever that is, and she says, "Hey, sweetie, I have an idea," and that was always really exciting. And she said, "Why don't we go to the farmer's market? We haven't been to the farmer's market in a long time." And I thought, I don't really know what a farmer's market was. This was a while back. And I said, sure, great, wonderful. So we went to the edge of town. We went to this farmer's market. And there we were. And it was this whole new world that I was introduced to for the first time at age 12. And we were standing in front of the grapefruit stand. And I'm not a big fan of grapefruits, but they were gorgeous. There were these beautiful, amazing grapefruits. And this lovely, lovely, little tiny old woman from the Philippines comes up and starts asking us questions and talking to my mom about the grapefruits. It was her stand, and she was very proud of it. And I was looking at the grapefruits, and all of a sudden, my mom starts speaking with this woman in fluent Tagalog. What? I had never in my life heard my mother speak Tagalog. It's one of the main languages spoken in the Philippines, not typically taught in Denver, Colorado, in school. And so I was literally transported, like, who are you? What have you done with my mother? And what language are you speaking? I mean, it was fluent. They were laughing, they were hugging, they were chatting. You might be wondering how my mom knows Tagalog. Some of you know this story. She was one of the very first Peace Corps volunteers to go over to the Philippines and worked there and lived there for many years and traveled. But it was in that moment where I got to recognize and see God in the unexpected, in the totally, completely unexpected. I mean, I remember driving home in the car and just kind of staring at her in absolute wonder, like, how, what? And what she gave me in that moment, what she taught me, was that we can find spirit, God, love, anywhere and everywhere if we're open to it. And Barbara Brown Taylor talks about this, the beauty of travel. You know, my mom ended up, because she had traveled so much, she was open and curious about other people and cultures and places. And that was an extraordinary gift that she gave me and my sisters and brothers. And what I want to say to you is, you don't have to necessarily travel to open your mind and your heart. As Barbara Brown Taylor says, you can go to a Thai grocery store and ask them about their vegetables. You know, you can go to a Spanish mass and just open up to the beauty and the grace inherent in it. It's always available to us. And, you know, I understand and I completely get that not everyone likes to veer off course. Not everyone is Peggy McNally. I understand that. And what I also know is that sometimes we can get so stuck in our routines, you know? We drive a certain way to work or to the grocery store or to the bank or wherever we're going. We have a certain breakfast that we have every morning. We load the dishwasher in a certain pattern, you know? Anyone? Okay. So we get comfortable in those routines. It brings us a certain amount of a feeling of what we know. And what ends up happening is when we are doing this so much so that our life becomes rote, so to speak, we miss out on God. We miss out on spirit, on love, on divine opportunity. We miss out at the grapefruit stand, learning that your mother can speak Tagalog. We miss it, right? So what I want to suggest for all of us is notice the areas of your life where you're in a routine. And I want to invite you to mix it up, to just whatever that is for you. Now, part of this is also, what is also connected to this is when we start something new. Whenever we do something new, we veer off our usual path. We're starting something new which can make us feel a little bit lost, right? We don't know it. Maybe part of veering off your path is to start a new hobby or a new sport, or reach out to someone that you think you might want to be friends with, right? The thing is that for some of us, for many of us, this initially can take a certain amount of courage, right? Even the most extroverted extroverts can be a little shy at times. Yes, you can. We had our beautiful Beyond Limits class right here last week, and I have to tell you, it was so cool for me to witness these beautiful beings stepping way out of their comfort zone. And it's beautiful to behold because what I know, being able to witness that, is that they're just on the precipice of so much growth, you know? Life grows us when we step out of our comfort zone, when we have a willingness to veer off our usual path. The Buddhists call this beginner's mind, or in the Zen tradition, it's Shoshin, which refers to having an attitude of openness, eagerness, a lack of preconceptions, to be open. So I'm going to invite you to, in the next week, just be open to the life that's happening around you and that is wanting to happen for you. Not long ago, I was at the DMV with my daughter, and she was getting her permit to drive. It was so cute. She was really, really nervous. And, you know, it was this really special kind of mother-daughter experience. And there we are in the DMV, and, oh, the DMV. Wow. It was so crowded and stuffy and loaded with all kinds of energy. Lots of life happening at the DMV that day. And so just as she was going off to actually take her test, I said, you know, sweetie, I'm going to duck outside and just kind of get some fresh air and, you know, just get into my own space a little bit. So out I go, and I see there's, you know, all these people kind of doing the same thing, you know. They're either on their phones or they're reading or they're just sort of sitting there staring at the ground. And I thought, well, I'm going to meditate for a few minutes. So I get out there and I kind of find my little spot, you know, navigating the energy outside of the DMV. And just as I'm about to sort of close my eyes and kind of get ready to just have a few minutes of centering, the DMV doors bust open, and this somewhat elderly man with a long gray ponytail and a tie-dyed t-shirt comes out and he goes, "Freedom! Freedom! Freedom!" And he starts doing this dance, "Freedom!" Okay, I can't even begin to tell you how fabulous that was on every level. And because he was singing and dancing what we were all thinking. And I couldn't help it, and I just cracked up, and I just started like guffawing, laughing. And then everyone around me started guffawing, laughing. And we were all like laughing hysterically, and he's laughing. And then we start chatting about, why are you at the DMV? Well, my daughter's getting her permit. I'm getting registration, whatever. All that, and we just kind of bond outside. Nobody's looking at their phones. We're bonding at the DMV. Just laughing and having a great time. And then McKenna comes running out, and she's like, "I passed!" And they all clap, and she's like, "Well, thank you. Wow. Wow." It was delightful. It was delightful. And what I can tell you is that I haven't always made the choice to let the awesome hippie dude crack me up. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure there have been times where that's happened and I just stifled a laugh and stayed on track because I had planned to go meditate and that's what I was going to do. Do you know what I'm saying? And so this too, you know, it's about veering off the path in a way and letting God be God as the hippie guy. You know, whatever it is for you, but to be present to that love that is spirit that is happening all around us. So I invite you to just be open. You know, it's about having this willing heart and to engage outside of your comfort zone. There's a lot of God outside of your comfort zone. There's a lot of God outside your comfort zone. And another side to this, another piece of this, is that, you know, there are many different ways that we get lost. Ms. Taylor writes, "It can happen anywhere in all kinds of ways. You can get lost on your way home. You can get lost looking for love. You can get lost between jobs. You can get lost looking for God. However it happens, take heart. Others before you have found a way in the wilderness, where there are as many angels as wild beasts and plenty of other lost people too. All it takes is one of them to find you. All it takes is you to find one of them." So this concept of wilderness is used across the Judeo-Christian tradition. And the original meaning of the word wilderness is a wild, uninhabited, or uncultivated place. Now, I don't know about you, but I can point to very specific times in my life where I have been in the wilderness. Dark night of the soul, 40 days in the desert, whatever you want to call it. The difficult times. Now, the metaphysical meaning of that is not in a place, but in a place where my mind has been wild or uninhabited or uncultivated. Do you see that place where we have an opportunity in this teaching to train our mind to assist us when life happens and when we move into that difficult place? And what I know is that when we are in that challenging energy of the wilderness, so to speak, it's our soul calling us into a place of greater clarity and self-worth and spiritual understanding. But sometimes it's hard to get that when you're in the middle of it, right? Are you with me? So the tool, what you can do, if you are moving through a wilderness time in your life right now, and it could be about a lot of things, it could be about one thing, the tool or the antidote is to listen, to deeply listen to Spirit within you, because underneath the wild, uninhabited, uncultivated thoughts that you may be having about that thing or that subject or whatever that is in your life, right underneath that is Spirit, is God. Right underneath the loneliness, the confusion, the angst that you might be having. If you listen, there is a message from the divine that is working very, very hard to get your attention. And the way to tap into that and the way to receive that message so that you can heal whatever it is that you are wanting to heal in your life is to simply ask the question within yourself, Spirit, what am I to know about this? Spirit, what am I to know about this? Whatever that is for you. It's a powerful question to ask yourself. Irving Berlin said, I got lost, but look what I found. Look what I found. So if you are in a place of any kind of loss, you is seeking to find you back home. We have so many ways in this community to support you out of the wilderness. Practitioners, magnificent practitioners who will pray for you. We have groups and we have classes. We have all kinds of things that you can do. We have Wednesday night, the beautiful Wednesday night. Greg, I'm so excited for what you're going to be bringing us on Wednesday night. We have all kinds of things. And the Sunday morning time just to be here. Talk to a therapist or a trusted friend, whatever it is, but my loving nudge to you is to, whatever you do, listen, to get quiet, to get in the quiet. This is why we teach meditation here. This is an incredibly powerful spiritual tool to assist you if this is a place that you happen to be. And just know that you are not alone. We will love you through it here, because that's what we do, yes? Okay. So Barbara Brown Taylor makes it clear that this other idea that I want, and there's so many things that I could talk about. A lot of times I sit when I'm preparing this talk going, there's so much gold in this book, so much God in this book. What am I going to talk about? I'm going to bring this one in because this made me chuckle a little bit. And you know I love a good chuckle. And that is, she says to us in the book that one of is to simply, are you ready? Okay. Is to simply get over ourselves. Just get over yourself. For the love. Get over yourself. Why? Why? So that we can get out of our own discomfort and make room to really genuinely and authentically encounter others. But we have to get out of our own way first to really do that. She writes, the hardest spiritual work in the world is to love the neighbor as the self. To encounter another human being, not as someone you can use, change, fix, help, save, enroll, convince, or control, but simply as someone who can spring you from the prison of yourself if you will allow it. All you have to do, she says, is recognize another you out there. Right? It's interesting to me that the Hebrew Bible has one verse that says, you shall love your neighbor. One time, you shall love your neighbor. However, it says 36 times, you should love the stranger. 36 times. Love the stranger. Isn't that interesting? Yeats wrote, there are no strangers here, only friends we haven't yet met. So this brings us into the conversation about embracing the stranger as a spiritual practice. And you know, when I think about that, what first pops into my head is, well, are there really any strangers? Now, I mean, there are people who may act a little strange on occasion. Freedom! Freedom! I mean, you know. And there are people who act or behave differently than what we are used to based on their cultural or religious norms. That can seem different, yes, it is. And I think that a big part of all of this is getting ourselves to the place of being vulnerable in new situations. And I have experienced the beauty of this time and time again in my interfaith and intercultural work. I remember a few years ago, some of you may know this story, but it bears repeating. A few years ago, there was a bombing in Paris, and Islamic extremists took credit for it. And as a result, there was extensive anti-Muslim rhetoric in our country. It was very, very painful. And I was in Colorado at the time. And so I decided that I wanted to support our Muslim sisters and brothers by bringing a group of Mile Highers to the local mosque for a candlelight vigil that we were planning. And I met a group of them ahead of time in front of our church to pray and to gather. And I had let them know the protocol, that they would be removing their shoes before entering the mosque, and that the women would cover their heads, and so to please bring a scarf. And so there we were outside of Mile High Church, and there was a bunch of us, and we gathered in a circle to hold hands and pray before carpooling across town. And just before prayer, this one beloved soul, she raised her hand and she said, "Reverend Shannon, I have a question before we pray." And she was really nervous. And she said, "I don't normally wear a scarf. I had to borrow a friend's scarf. Can you please just teach me how to wrap the scarf around my head? I want to do it appropriately because I want the people at the mosque to know how much I respect them and how sad I am by what is happening. And that's why I'm going today, but I want to do it right." And what I can tell you in that moment, more than the whole experience, and it was an incredible experience that we had, this amazing experience, but that was the most poignant for me, because in that moment I saw God. In that moment I saw love itself speak through this woman who had no idea what she was doing, was very uncomfortable about going to a mosque, but was so willing to go off the path so that she could show up for people she didn't even know in a culture she did not understand. Do you see? That is embracing and loving the stranger, being willing to be uncomfortable in it, being willing to make mistakes, being willing to say the wrong thing, being willing to not know how to wear the scarf so your hair doesn't show. And that, I believe, is the call for all of us. That's this, encountering and loving the stranger as ourself. And I believe right now, in this world that we are living in, that we chose to be in right here, this is one of the most important things we can do. Yes? Yeah. So, this week, number one, mix it up a little. Come on. Be open to Spirit through you, however it shows up, wherever you are. Have that open mind and willing heart to just however it works for you, but come on now, just be a little bit out of your comfort zone. That's where the God is. That's where the God is. 2, if you are in a wilderness time of your life, I invite you to get support here and know that it is being in the quiet and asking, Spirit, what am I to know? Where you will be able to, with assistance, bring yourself out of that lost place. And 3, just notice how you feel about quote-unquote strangers. And I'm going to invite you to consciously look for opportunities to connect. It doesn't matter if you're at the farmer's market. It doesn't matter if you're at the DMV or a mosque. We are all in this together. Yes? All right. Love and blessings. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.